Hi, welcome to the May Personal Horoscope Winners video. This is for Purple Pips, who was born in Romford in the United Kingdom. Sorry if I look away, but I've just printed this will off the computer, and so I haven't had any chance to look at it at all. She was born on the 28th of October 1955 at midnight. Right, so quite unusual for someone to actually say they were born exactly on midnight. And what we can see straight away is that this person has the Sun in Scorpio. They also have a Venus in Scorpio. And so I'm just seeing how many degrees they are apart. They're not conjunct, actually. They also have Saturn in Scorpio too. And the interesting thing I can see straight away is that this person's Saturn position is actually in the 4th house, suggesting that things around the family and emotional life have perhaps been the most important area in this person's life in terms of trying to find the serenity that we all need to function well. Now, apart from that, we also have 3 lots of Leo in Jupiter, in Uranus, and also in Pluto. And in fact, Jupiter is conjunct Pluto. Now this is really massive stuff. It means that if this person has convictions, they're certainly not going to hold back from sharing them. And like a lot of Scorpio people are known to be quite reserved. But my experience of Scorpio people is they can actually be very direct. And yes, they don't tell you everything they want you to, that you might want to know. In a certain way, they can be very secretive. But when they do decide to speak, they can do so with bone-crunching honesty at times. But what makes Purple Pip's chart a little bit different is that the Sun and also Venus and also Mars and also Neptune are all gathered in the 3rd house. So this is someone who could be quite skilled at communication. The Moon is also in the 7th house in Pisces. Now, 7th house Moon suggests that the type of responses this person gets is also very, very important to them, and probably very attuned to the atmosphere that goes on in all sorts of relationships. So this is a person with some very sharp-eyed communicational skills, interpersonal skills, but with passion, but no little amount of fairness, because the Libra theme that's there is very well established. We've got Mercury there, we've got Mars there. They're kind of nearly conjunct, which again points towards this potential to be very frank. But I think also Mars and Mercury in Libra can give this person a real love of honesty, fairness, and maybe someone who could be an advocate for other people too. Now, in terms of the ascendant is 21 degrees in Leo. So we actually have an ascendant which is very, very close to Jupiter and relatively close to Pluto too. So once met, I don't think you're ever going to forget that you've met Purple Pips. Purple Pips will be someone who has a real stage presence and a person to be taken seriously, but also a very charismatic person as well. Now then, we also have Jupiter in the 1st house and in Leo. So this is a person who is kind of constantly learning, constantly soaking up new information, almost like the potential for lifetime learning. Now that could be in a formal sense through higher education. It could just be in their personal attitude. Remember, when you get a lot of Leo stuff and a lot of Scorpio stuff in someone's horoscope, there can be a tendency to be quite fixed in their attitudes. Once they form a particular way of doing things, they don't easily give those things up. But like all Scorpio people, it comes along to moments where everything seems to melt down and they kind of reinvent themselves and start all over. What I get for this person is the communicational side of things also goes hand in hand with the kind of paradoxical position of Uranus, which is in actual fact located in the 12th house. This means that things can seem to come along in life very unexpectedly, and there's not really a lot this person can do about it. It just means that things can suddenly break, they can suddenly ebb and flow, which could be at times be quite unsettling. But with Venus also in the fourth house, along with Saturn, and very, very close to Saturn too in Scorpio, I do feel that if relationships are not particularly tranquil, it can cause quite a lot of misery and unhappiness. This person is someone who will be very dedicated to the right relationship, very loving and stable for their friends and family, the people who really matter. But if there is any overspill from a relationship or hangovers that didn't work out very well, it could leave an indelible mark, one which is not easy to let go of. In terms of the aspects, well, we've got some crackers here. The Sun forges a beautiful angle with Moon. We've got the Sun forging a fantastic angle with Jupiter. So this person can really light up a room when they move into a space. They really can. Everybody knows they're there. Very, very charismatic. We do, however, have the Sun opposite Uranus, which kind of bears out what I said about things happening sort of unexpectedly, and also maybe a tendency to rip everything up and start over, even when it's not in this person's best interest, because there's a natural desire for change. Now, the Sun also forges a very positive link with Neptune. This means this person's imagination can be awesome, a love of film, perhaps a potential for psychic phenomenon too. And I would say to her, if you do feel that you get hunches on things, you shouldn't doubt them. But with Saturn in your fourth house, you probably do at times, which could see you getting a little bit low. But if you just listen to your inner voice at all times, it will always guide you in a very positive way. You can also be very compassionate towards other people. Now, there's also links between Mercury and Mars. We've mentioned that one already, about being quite outspoken, quite to the point. Venus and Saturn I've mentioned already. Now, the angle between Mars and Uranus suggests that this is a person who can have a natural appreciation for the unusual. Now, of course, Uranus is exalted in Scorpio, even though it's the ruler of Aquarius, which is a sign which is not naturally compatible with Scorpio. So it suggests this person might be someone who really quite likes new gadgets or devices, or on the other hand, gets a great deal of pleasure out of being a complete and utter Luddite and talking at why we shouldn't be following all these different trends, using all these different gadgets and devices. It could go either way. Now, there are some squares. There's some squares between Saturn and Pluto. That means that there can be a resistance to change and need for control on situations, which isn't always helpful. There's also a square between Uranus and Neptune. Now, when people have this in their natal horoscope, when they have this in their transit, and it's almost like a generational thing, it suggests that you should always be very careful to stay around people who are honest, straightforwards. Don't stay in situations because you feel you should. Don't be steered by peer pressure. It's always important to listen again to that inner voice. Saturn also squares up with the ascendant, suggesting there's not always personal satisfaction when it comes to the way people perceive you. And also Uranus suggests that at work you might find yourself being a bit of a rebel, but you need to make sure that you're a rebel with a cause. Otherwise, what's the point? You know, sometimes we have to accept we do have to play the game in life. It does also point towards the fact that self-employment could be something you could consider in time. But the key, when I look at this horoscope, is communications, much more so than a normal Scorpio. This is a person really quite capable of reaching out, cultivating, talking well, speaking well, writing well potentially. But with the moon in the 7th house, relationships is at the crux of this person's life. And with Venus conjunct Saturn, if those relationships are out of kilter and not very happy, it can have quite a big impact on the person's psyche. If things are very sweet and honky-dory, they will be totally committed to it, do everything they can to make it prosper. I hope that's been helpful to Purple Pips and to yourselves. Thank you very much for tuning in, and goodbye. If you'd like a live consultation with one of my astrologers, tarot readers or psychics, please look at the link below, paste it into your browser, because you can have a reading which is 100% guaranteed. If you're not happy, we'll give your money back. But I think you'll find it's great sometimes to be able to talk to someone live. It's been a pleasure being with you. Good luck and goodbye.